Good morning and welcome everyone. Thank you for registering for today's webinar, all about the evolution of hotel telephony and AI. Welcome. My name is Jane Pendlebury. I'm the CEO of HOSPA, the Hospitality Professionals Association. It's Wednesday, the 14th of May, 2025. It's 10 a.m. and it's a beautiful sunny day in the UK, but it's very early in the morning for my guest, Neil Tolley, as he's presenting to us today from the United States. It's 5 o'clock, I think, for him. We're due to be chatting for around 25 minutes today with time for questions at the end. So please do ask questions throughout. You should see a Q&A option at the bottom of your screen. And if there's not enough time to answer all the queries, then we will get back to you afterwards. But as mentioned, I'm delighted to be joined by Neil Tolley, who I'm sure a lot of you know. He's the founder of 14IP, and he's going to share some very important information right now, what's happening in the world of telephony. So over to you, Neil.
Thank you very much, Jane. It is indeed 5 o'clock in the morning, but it's absolutely fine. And there's definitely no sun, it's pitch black still. Anyway, thank you very much. Morning, everybody. So just to quickly run through the agenda for today's webinar, I'll do a quick introduction to 14IP for those of you who may not know who we are or the services and solutions that we provide. I'll then go into some detail on the upcoming end of legacy connectivity, which is just 18 months away now, and then touch on some major changes that are happening in the world of on-premise telephony that hotels really do need to be aware of. Following that, I'll run through some information on the wider cloud telephony market, not too much of that, just to give you an update. And then finally, I'll cover the AI revolution that we are seeing happening across the world with some detail on how this is helping both hotels and their guests. And then finally, some recommended actions for you to consider, and then any questions that there might be. So, a little bit about 14IP. 14IP was founded in April 2011 in Wigan. So we are 14 years old. We're celebrating our 14th birthday this year, just last month. And over that 14 years, we've focused on doing just a few things as well as we possibly can. Those things are voice and data networking, with AI being added to that over the last 5, probably 6 now, years or so. We're focused on the hospitality industry. We're very keen innovators, and we take great pride in listening to our customers and creating solutions that our customers want, rather than solutions that we think they want or we think they'd like. That approach has helped us to grow over the past 14 years. So as well as our head office in Wigan, we now have offices in Orlando, in Florida, which is where I am right now, in Cancun, in Mexico, in Vancouver, in Canada, and somewhat closer to home in Cork, in Ireland, for the whole Brexit thingy. And we will, it says plans to grow to Asia, but we will expand our Evolution Voice and AI solutions to Asia, based out of Singapore, either later this year or early next year. Hopefully later this year. Our customers, we can't get them all on one screen, obviously, so the idea is just to give you an idea of the different types of customers. Our customers include global and regional brands, as well as individual hotels of all sizes. Our Evolution Voice service serves over 350,000 guest rooms now across 25 countries. And we've been fortunate enough to provide Evolution Voice to some amazing hotels and resorts across the world. It's most certainly not all huge resorts or major global brands, though. We're very fortunate to have a real mix of hotels of all sizes and levels of service across the UK and across the world who trust us with their telephony, their networking, and their AI. Right, excuse me 1 second. So moving on, I'm going to cover the rapidly approaching end of legacy PSTN services and also some major changes in the world of on-premise telephony solutions that are already having a major impact on hotels and will continue to do so. There's quite a lot of information from me on the next slide or two, so I couldn't really fathom out a different way of doing it. So my apologies for that, but I wanted to make sure I got across not just what's happening, but to explain the impact and potential impact to you as hoteliers. Obviously, you can reach out to me or any of the 14IP team to ask for any more information, and the webinar is also being recorded. So the big switch off, as it's called in the UK, is also happening across the world. Some countries like Germany already finished, of course they have, and others are further behind where we are. In the UK, the date for the PSTN switch off has been pushed out to January 2027. Which may feel like a long way off, but it's only 18 months. And our experience in dealing with hotels on this is that many are very slow to act and slow to make decisions in regard to the lines. That's often because they're just not sure what lines they have, what they're used for, if they're used at all, and they have an understandable concern both about affecting any systems they might be connected to and about life safety. And because of those concerns, we're finding decisions are just not being taken. All these lines and services are going to be switched off in just 18 months, no matter what. So it's far better to try and deal with this in advance in a controlled way rather than leaving it and paying more money, which is an important point, than you need to be doing, and potentially leaving yourself in a cliff edge scenario. There's a very similar situation here in the US where the FCC have allowed telecoms carriers to increase prices for POTS lines, as they call them here, analog lines, to whatever they want to try and force customers to take action. And of course, they have increased them to whatever they want. So analog lines here, rather than $10 or $20, are now $150 or $200. Hopefully that won't happen in the UK, but it's just to give you an idea of what could happen if we don't take action and get these lines moved. I understand it's very often hard to find the lines and to identify them when many of them were installed decades ago. Some are in hard or impossible to find locations, perhaps because they've been plastered over, or in some cases that the sockets and the cabling have already been removed, but the hotels are still paying for the lines. If you're in a situation where you're unsure what a line is used for, we would generally recommend working with your carrier to place that line or lines in an out of service state. This will mean that no calls can be made or received, and it will appear, if you did call the number, that the line is dead, but it will still be alive, you will still be billed. But if you run that for an agreed period of 1, 2, 3 months and receive no reports from anybody that you've got problems with systems or something's not working, you should be safe to terminate that line. And if you did need to retain the line, because it's in an out of service state, it's a simple phone call to your carrier to reactivate it quickly and easily. In instances where you do need to retain the service, so you need to migrate away from your analog line, replacement lines using VoIP are available, including from 14IP, of course, where we offer a PSTN replacement service for everything except alarm lines that need red care. And this comes with a very low cost for the service. If you already have a VoIP solution, perhaps a VoIP PBX, you should just be able to migrate the line to your existing service and to your PBX and move the line, the telephone number over at the same time. For ISDN replacement, so that's the main trunk into your telephone system, No matter what, that's being switched off in 18 months. The solution you'll need is SIP trunks, SIP trunks. Depending on your PBX, you may be able to connect them directly to your phone system, or you might require a gateway to sort of connect to your phone system in the same way as your current trunks, and then the gateway connects to the SIP trunks, allowing you to connect up to the phone system, to the telephone network. As a telecoms carrier, 14IP have a SIP trunk solution, and we have, of course, designed it just for hotels with a zero capex solution and low monthly cost, and full integration with our Eva AI solution. Well, obviously, SIP trunks are available from multiple carriers within the UK. So the key thing here is we would urge hotels who have not taken action on ceasing or replacing analog or ISDN services to do so quickly as possible. If nothing else, you're going to reduce your monthly costs, and you'll avoid a cliff edge in just 18 months' time. And as I've said, from what we've seen, it's not something that somebody starts on a Monday and finishes on a Friday. It takes a while. It could be at least 3+ months if you've got to test various things, and that cut-off date is rapidly approaching. So moving on to PBXs, the move by everyone to cloud everything has been with us for some years now, of course, and accelerated during the pandemic. Excuse me. And whilst over 60% of global businesses have moved their communications to the cloud, that number drops to less than 10%, actually nearer 6% for hospitality. So we're absolutely miles behind. This shift has forced major changes with the manufacturers we've all known and worked with for years. So the manufacturers of on-premise telephone systems, with NEC, Avaya, Toshiba, Samsung, and Panasonic, all withdrawn from the PBX market over the past few years. And then just a few months ago, Mitel, who a big group of us here at 14IP grew up with, filed for bankruptcy. Whilst Mitel are saying that bankruptcy will make them stronger, I guess we'll see, but it's very clear that the move to cloud is unstoppable, and we're seeing the end of the on-premise PBX as the #1 solution. And then with it, of course, the development of new features, new functionality, integration moves away from on-premise solutions to cloud solutions that are easier to integrate with and much easier to scale. And that shift gives rise to a number of challenges for hotels that retain an on-premise PBX. These include a shortage of spares, either in volume or quality. And we see this in particular for Nortel and Avaya, and for some older Mitel and NEC systems. And a lack of spares alongside a decreasing number of trained engineers is a risk, of course, a risk of downtime or reduced functionality because PBX isn't working, but also a risk to data security, which is something I want to cover on the next slide. So even if you have, excuse me, an older on-premise solution with ISDN currently, as I mentioned earlier, that ISDN is going to be switched off, and you will be moved to SIP trunks within the next 18 months. And of course, those SIP trunks are connected to the internet. There is a good chance your PBX is already connected to the internet in some way, perhaps for remote support, or you may have IP admin phones which are connected to your network. You'll likely have call accounting and voicemail solutions that are connecting to your PMS and to your PBX and to the internet. The point being here is that your old on-premise PBX that is no longer manufactured, is possibly no longer supported, is connected not just to the internet, but also to other hotel systems, including your PMS, either directly or indirectly. and the risk of hacking is very real. And I'm sure that any IT people on the call will be acutely aware of that risk. Hacking of hotels has happened, of course, and major fines have been received as a consequence. We know from running our Evolution Voice platform the very significant security requirements for all the major brands and some of the other brands too. Our platforms receive penetration tests and other security tests pretty much continuously throughout the year. They receive updates and testing alongside all of these security penetration tests to make sure, and it's surrounded by firewalls and various other security systems. Your on-premise PBX is not getting any of this at all. Many of the major brands now across the world, some of you might be aware, are also implementing requirements for all end of support systems to be replaced due to the security concerns that I'm highlighting here. And that very, very much includes the PBX. If you've got an end of life, end of support system, it's connected to the internet, it's a risk. So there's a huge project across multiple global brands to get rid of these systems, to get rid of that risk. So our advice is to keep your PBX as up to date as possible. Ensure your PBX and anything connected to it is secure. And if your PBX is no longer supported, look to move to a new solution as part of a budgeting process as soon as you're able. Sorry to scare everybody to death, but it's the amount of meetings and we're having with brands and various other things that we're seeing on this, it is without any doubt a significant risk. Just to give you a bit more on the, and only a bit more, on the wider cloud telephony market. As I mentioned earlier, over 60% of global businesses have moved their communications to the cloud, and this is expected to get to as near to 100%, I guess, as it's ever going to get over the next 5 years. In hospitality, we're less than 10% and much nearer 6%. So miles and miles behind, as well as pointing out the security concerns. There's obviously some real benefits for hotels in making the move to a more modern communication solution. So a bit more positive after a couple of negative slides, if you like. Sorry. So moving on. Whilst hospitality is behind the curve in making the shift to cloud-based communication and collaboration solutions, there are solutions out there that are available that are tailored to hospitality to give and to give you a little bit of an idea and a case study. We at 14IP rolled out Evolution Voice for Marriott in the UK in 2015, so 10 years ago. Didn't that time fly? Those solutions are very much still live today. Every one of them's up to date. They were reduced in size during COVID with some staff moving home, working just by taking the phone home with them or adding a soft phone to the mobile. The monthly charges were reduced while the hotels were closed during mobile. They've benefited from zero downtime, from a highly reliable, always updated solution that, as I mentioned earlier, has security at its heart. And as we move into the AI age, and we'll get onto that in a couple of slides, those hotels have to take no action to add AI. It's already good to go as and when they want it, which funnily enough is happening right about now. As I mentioned back at the start, we have over 1/3 rooms connected to our telephony platforms across 25 countries now in hotels, with anything from half a dozen phones through to huge resorts with over 6,000. I'm not really here to go through all the benefits of a cloud PBX. I just wanted to give you an idea of some of the things that we've done. One of the questions that we often get when we talk to people about migrating from on-premise to cloud is, can we keep our guest room phones? Pretty much one of the first questions, and the answer is 99.9% of the time, yes, you can. There's just a very few older types of phones that you can't keep. Gateways are used to connect your existing analog guest room phones and any other analog phones to your cloud PBX. Your admin phones will need to change to IP phones, and they'll connect to a network just like the guest room. Sorry, they'll need to connect to a network, and just like the guest room phones, there's a solution if you don't have network points for those telephones. I obviously can't speak for any other telephony vendors, but we have now migrated near 1,000 hotels from an on-premise PBX to cloud PBX, and even these large multi-thousand room resorts are migrated in just a couple of hours with very minimal impact to guests and very minimal downtime. Okay, moving on to AI and the next wave of guest engagement that we're seeing. Hopefully, we had a bit of fun and games when we were testing Jane and I earlier. Hopefully you'll be able to hear the sound. There's a couple of sound clips to play. First one.
Hi, can I get 2 towels and some toothpaste, please?
I've noted your request for 2 towels. How many tubes of toothpaste would you like?
Just the one.
Your request for 2 towels and 1 tube of toothpaste has been successfully placed for room 905. Is there anything else I can assist you with?
Yeah, you know, my shower drain is clogged.
Got it. I'll put in a request for assistance with the shower drain. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Your request for assistance with the clogged shower drain has been successfully placed for room 905. Is there anything else I can help you with?
No, that's all.
Okay, so that was a very simple example and one of many millions, tens of millions now of calls answered and dealt with by voice AI. Excuse me, that example showed an integration with hot sauce, the toothbrush and the, what was going on with the drain there, but that was hot sauce. It could have been any hotel ticketing system, or indeed various other systems, including restaurant or spa booking systems, or it could just have been regularly asked questions from guests or callers, both inside or outside of the hotel. After some initial success with Eva, which was back at the beginning of the pandemic, we saw a long pause from many hotels and brands whilst they reviewed the options with AI, and of course considered the legal aspects as well as those for their various brands and the impact on the guests and how they wanted to interact with the guests, and indeed if they wanted to use AI in any guest facing roles. That period of reflection is now very, very much over, and we are seeing not just sort of adoption of AI, but rollouts to full global brands, and a major push to get AI in front of guests. And the driver is almost always to give staff more time with guests. It's very rarely anything else, and that's across any class of hotel. So in select service hotels where there are fewer staff, AI can take the weight off the staff and handle repetitive tasks, freeing them up to deal with the guests in front of them. And in full service and luxury hotels, it allows guests to get information and get things done, perhaps like getting some toothpaste and sorting out an unfortunately blocked shower drain in that example. To give you another example and to show Eva with a totally different tone and language, I'll just play you one more recording.
Good morning. Thank you for calling the Ritz-Carlton Marina Del Rey. My name is Coco. How may I assist you?
What time is check-in?
Check-in time is 4 p.m. If you plan to arrive earlier, we will do all we can to try and ensure your room is ready. If your room is unavailable, we will be delighted to store your luggage, and you can enjoy the extensive facilities of the hotel whilst we place a priority on preparing your room.
Super, thank you.
My pleasure. May I assist you with anything else this morning?
No, thank you.
Fabulous. Wishing you a wonderful day ahead.
So a rather different example there from a well, the Ritz-Carlton Marina del Rey, the luxury hotel in California, which shows how either Coco, as it was there, can be adjusted to suit any environment. And you'll notice, I'm sure, not just a different tone, but also the luxury language being used in that example. We're rolling out Evas for various global brands, as I mentioned, and installing in both managed and franchise hotels for many others. Eva operates 24/7, doesn't take a break, integrates with lots of other hotel systems such as Salesforce or Hot Sauce or 7 Rooms and a whole host of others. Effectively, if there's an API, Eva either already integrates or can integrate. And Eva can be Eva. I mean, that's just our name, Evolution Virtual Agent. Or as you heard in that example, use your own name. So that for Ritz-Carlton, that was Coco. No guessing which Coco it was named after. And then Accor are using their own name, Farah, F-A-R-A-H, which they came up with its own personality. And that's what we use for those guys. Eva does not just answer calls, but handles them and can do so in multiple languages, can also send text messages, be that SMS or WhatsApp. And I think a good way to think of Eva is as a new member of staff who'll be trained up to answer the phone and handle a range of requests, integrate, work with on other systems, and free up time for others to spend quality time with the guests in front of them. So I'll come to some recommendations on Eva on the next slide. So before we head into any questions there might be, I just tried to put together 4 recommended actions for you to consider. So going back to the big switch off, get your phone bills and work through the analog lines to see if there are any you can just quickly cease. For those that you can't cease or you're unsure about, consider put them in an out of service state for a period of time to see if you get any feedback. Then you should be able to make a decision on whether you cease or you've got to retain that service and move it to VoIP, either to an existing or a new service. If you still have ISDN 30 or PRI connected to your phone system, you're spending too much money. Simple as that. You need to look at replacing with SIP trunks as soon as possible. There's multiple providers. Obviously, 14IP are one of those providers, and we've got a SIP trunk solution that's designed just for hotels with 0 CapEx, and it integrates with the Eva solution that you just heard. The third recommended action is to make sure your on-premise PBX is on the latest software possible, with the same going for any IP phones that you have, and think carefully about security. If your PBX is end of life or end of support or both, you should very much seriously consider budgeting for a replacement as soon as you're able to get it into your budget. And then finally, on AI, act now on AI. It may be voice AI that I've been speaking about, but there are all sorts of other AI solutions that can help you be more efficient, help you reduce costs, and improve the service to guests in a risk-free way. I can guarantee that that lots of your competitors are doing this right now. There's plenty more information on AI and the other things I spoke about on our website, and any of the team from 14IP, be it me or any of the other guys or girls, will be more than happy to speak to you. And we're into questions then, Jane, if there are any.
Brilliant. There are indeed. Yes, Neil. So firstly, from our friend Ian, who hails from Scotland, I think you know who I mean. He's asking, how does Eva deal with accents from around the UK? There have been issues in the past with west of Scotland and northeast of England's accents. I seem to remember a a video clip of people in a lift not being able to get out because they couldn't get out of the lift, but I'm sure you've got a more serious answer on that.
Well, no, obviously I could. I don't know who's on the call, so I don't use my normal sense of humour, to be honest. But but yes, thank you, Ian. Hope you're having a good day. We have lots of accent challenges, so you can imagine not just Scottish or Geordie or Scouse. Over here, deep Southern accents and a drawl where 3 words is one, which does lead to some comedy, I can tell you. But so Eva learns, so it does learn, and then separately, so we've got 2 versions of Eva. I didn't really go into that. So Eva 2 and Eva 3. Eva 3 is self-learning. Eva 2 is self-learning with some human interaction. So our AI team, if there's a one-off, Ian, it probably just wouldn't work. If it's so if you've got one guest who he's got a very thick accent and normal humans can't understand him that well and have to ask, Eva would be the same. If it's something that a human could understand, Eva would understand. If it's something, a word, I'm trying to think of some examples on my feet here and I can't, because there was quite a few in the early days where we could take something that sounded like one word and then you listen to the recording and it's realizing something else. You train the AI and then it knows everywhere for everything. So we don't see it as a problem anymore at all, really. And when we do get it, it just gets picked up and dealt with. Thank you, Ian.
Brilliant. Thank you, Neil. Another one from your old friend Steve. Are the legacy payment systems, PDQs, an issue still, and legacy PMS as well?
Yeah, I guess you're talking about POTS lines, Steve. Well, you shouldn't really have any on POTS lines anymore. It should be IP. So I didn't really see that question coming because I thought they'd already been moved. So yes, they've got to go. Those lines are being switched off at the end of December, at the end of January 2027. So your chip and pin PDQ machines should be on IP really anyway. And if not, in the interim time, you still got to change those lines over. So you can put them on your, well, I think Steve's got Mitel PBXs, so he can put them on his Mitel PBXs, or move them over to 14 IP either. But yes, they've got to be dealt with, Steve, and they do work on VoIP.
Perfect. Thank you. And there's another one here. Can you please provide a list of languages Eva can support? Is Arabic specifically one of them? And if it's not, have you got a plan to introduce an Arabic-speaking Eva?
Yes. So there's 2. So the easy one, Eva can't do Swiss German. And every time I mention it, the people just shake their head and say it's never going to happen. I don't really know what's so complicated about Swiss German. And then Arabic, I understand there's like Arabic and then but slightly different dialects or versions within it. But yes, so Eva 3 can speak Arabic already.
Well, that's very impressive. Another one here from Andrew J. Is there a percentage of total incoming call volumes that Eva would be expected to handle?
Yeah, so it varies depending on what hotels want and how they want to set it up. So if you just took those 2 example calls we listened to, so one was obviously very high end. They in that type of resort, hotel, it might be that the hotel wants Eva to answer straight away, or for if they don't answer within whatever their brand standard is, 2-3 rings, then Eva kicks in. So in which case they will be slightly lower. But on the basis of answering everything, it's anywhere from 55 to 75%, just depending on the hotel and how they're set up. So Eva will answer all the calls, no matter what, so long as you've got enough Eva agents, for example. There's no point having one if you get 6 calls at once. She's just not going to, and then handling the calls. So again, if you set Eva up, if we set up Eva up correctly and have all the right integrations. So if a lot of your calls down are requests for toothbrush, I can't think of anything else, sorry, it's a terrible example. It needs to be able to integrate with Hot Sauce or whatever the ticketing system, and then that percentage goes up. So the best performing hotels are at 76%. The average is mid to high 50s, I think. So
Okay.
either way, it's a heck of a lot.
And then the same person who asked about the Arabic question has come back and said, how can we have it for the Arabic speaking countries? So I guess they just need to make contact with you.
There is a way now.
Okay.
We've got we've linked our platform to EMW in Dubai. So, but yeah, just make contact. I'll sort it out.
Brilliant. Is there anything we should be aware of when switching to a cloud-based telephony solution for a multi-property hotel group?
Not really. It's not really any different because actually it's much easier. Everything moves up to the cloud. I suppose the one thing to consider would be your contact center. So if you're dialing in between, so for admin, head office, you just got to think about a numbering plan. Whereas if you've got on-premise PBXs, they're all individual. All of a sudden, everything is one big PBX. So you might want to think about numbering plan, and you might want to think about call center and how that works. But we'd guide you through that anyway.
Okay, another quick one here. You mentioned Mitel going into bankruptcy. Are they still operating in the UK? Do you know?
They are. I know quite a lot about it, but I'm a bit wary to. But
Yeah.
yes, and they are coming out of. They're working their way through the various courts in the countries to pop out of bankruptcy. I think probably this month or next month with different owners. They've got rid of some of their businesses, if you like, to try and give themselves a good chance when they go again.
Okay, I guess that's one. If they want more on that, they could contact you directly as well. Do you have some comments or feedback on how useful hotels have found implementing EVA? Are they finding other ways to expand usage, etc.?
Oh, so the one thing I would say is nobody's ever switched it off. Nobody.
Okay.
So as soon as it goes in, so EVA's in budget hotels all the way through. Well, you heard the Ritz-Carlton, so that was one of the first sort of luxury, and they, as you might imagine, they were a bit slower than everybody else. Some of the first installations we did were the Gaylord Resorts and the Swan and Dolphin here in Orlando, and then the Gaylord Resorts in the US, which are all huge. The smallest one's 2,000 rooms. They will not switch it off because it makes such a massive difference to the business. We've done more and more integrations now. So as long as there's an API, we can take an advantage of it. We have got hotels wanting to use it for, I think we started a project for HR. So if people phone in sick or whatever can't work, update the HR system and then instigate a call out to get the next person to replace them. So, you know, Jane phones in sick, Eva starts phoning around, phones me to see if I can cover for Jane. I accept, updates the HR system. For Marriott Vacation Club, who are rolling out globally, they phone people in advance for pre-arrivals and talk them through various things. We're working through Eva doing that. And then separately, another big chain, the data. So Eva, all of the calls are recorded and then deleted after 30 days. The calls are recorded for learning purposes that we discussed earlier. So for one other big chain, those call recordings are being taken from voice into text. The text is then put into a huge database, which they can then overlay their own AI, large language model on. They may very well be putting other data in there, and then they can just search it like a Google search engine. So they've got all of that data for every single internal and external call, all guest requests, what they ask for, in one huge growing database, and they see huge value in that, and there's not really any cost. So that's very clever and innovative.
Fabulous, great answer. And this might be the last one if anyone sneaks another one in, from David D. Very engaging and interesting update, Neil. I have to agree with that. Thank you, he says. Do 14IP offer a full PSTN line audit service, or do you need to be managing the lines already to be able to do this?
No, we'll happily do that, yes. The only part of the challenge is, as I was saying earlier, I mean, we've got customers of ours where, you know, there might be 10, 20, 30 analog lines, and we've asked them, do they still need them, and they don't know. Even the information we've got, then nobody can find them anywhere because they were installed 35 years ago, and you know, somebody's plastered over them and this sort of thing. So yes, David, we get the bill, we can go through it, we can go to site. The part of the challenge is very often you just can't find the things. So what we've then found is the best, because people don't want to switch them off because it might be, well, what if it's the lift line? What if it's such and such? So nobody will make a decision. Put it into an out of service state. Something's got to happen. So just put it into an out of service state and do as I said before. But yes, David, more than happy to help.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Well, that's taken us to 10:40. So I think probably we should call an end to the questions. But thank you, Neil. I think we need to broadcast this webinar far and wide so that the hospitality doesn't end up with egg on its face or a lot worse than that. And it's great to see AI working in a real environment. So thank you for sharing that and so much of your knowledge. And thank you all for listening as well. As ever, if you need formal advice, then please approach your professional advisors or come to me at Hosper for a referral. And if you'd like an introduction to Neil or the team at 14IP, then please let me know and I'd be delighted to connect you. Please also take a look at hosper.org for other upcoming events. There are many. For the technology experts listening today, you'd be wise to register for our webinar with Ireland on the 22nd of May. Take a look at the website. And then there's our annual finance update breakfast with BDO on June 5th. We have our Hotel Marketing Awards, which are scheduled at the Savoy for June 16th, which will be a fabulous celebratory event, which we're looking forward to. And then if you're a golfer, we've got a golfing event in conjunction with Centelli at the Belfry in August. Also on the website, you'll find recordings of all of our webinars and masterclasses, which are also on our YouTube channel. Today's webinar should also be uploaded within the next few days, and also you'll be able to read the highlights on our blog. Thank you all for listening, but thank you very much, Neil. I look forward to seeing you all again very soon. Thanks and goodbye.
Have a good day.